Daily learning.
My grandmother's old garden. There's a place I keep coming back to in my memories, like a favorite old song that never stops playing in your head. It's not grand or fancy or filled with anything expensive, but it's magic. Pure, delicate, heartwarming magic. It's my grandmother's garden. Now, this wasn't just any garden. It wasn't the kind you see in magazines or on those picture-perfect Instagram feeds with symmetrical rows and spotless corners. No. My grandmother's garden was a little chaotic, a little wild, and a lot alive. It had its own soul, its own rhythm, its own language. And somehow, even though it looked like it was always on the edge of overgrowing, it never truly lost its shape. It was as if the garden breathed through the seasons, growing sleepy in winter, yawning wide in spring, singing in summer, and whispering goodbye in autumn. The first thing you'd notice walking into the garden was the scent. Oh, the scent! It was a swirling perfume of soft lavender, sweet roses, spicy marigolds, and that earthy, wet soil smell that comes after rain. The flowers didn't just grow. They flourished. They bloomed with pride, stretching their delicate heads to the sun, fluttering softly whenever a breeze passed by, like they were greeting you. Hello, dear. Welcome back. Grandma used to say the flowers liked when you talked to them. And maybe she was right. Maybe deep down they really did listen. I remember being a kid, kneeling beside the violets, whispering my secrets to them as if they were my tiny, purple therapists. And they never told on me. There was a wooden bench tucked under an old cherry blossom tree at the far end of the garden. That bench wasn't just wood and nails. It was a storyteller. It had held generations of laughter, of tears, of quiet thoughts that didn't make it into words. I used to sit there with Grandma, the two of us wrapped in silence and sunshine. Her hands, always so warm, always smelling faintly of rosemary and hand cream, would rest on her lap as she watched the butterflies dance above the lilies. The butterflies loved the garden. So did the bees, dragonflies, and hummingbirds. It felt like a tiny kingdom of wings and petals. The bees were loud and clumsy, bumping into things like tiny drunk pilots, but still somehow doing their job. The butterflies were graceful, their wings painted like fragile stained glass. And the hummingbirds? They were little flashes of wonder, buzzing from one flower to the next like they were late for an important date. In the corner of the garden was the vegetable patch. Now that was a world of its own. It was messy in the most beautiful way, like a child's art project. Fat tomatoes hung like red ornaments. Carrots hid shyly under the soil, peeking out just enough to say, "I'm not ready yet." There were peas climbing up sticks, beans swinging lazily, and a stubborn row of onions that never seemed to grow quite right. Grandma would be there every morning, rain or shine, wearing her wide straw hat and humming some old tune. Her feet crunched on the gravel path, and her apron always had a new smudge of dirt or a wayward petal clinging to it. She talked to the plants as if they were her neighbors. Now, Mr. Basil, don't be shy today." Or, "Oh no, Miss Lettuce, you're wilting again, aren't you?" I used to giggle at her conversations, but now I think maybe she was teaching me something important. To slow down, to see life, to feel it. There were snails too, dozens of them, especially after it rained. I used to hate them. Their slimy trails and silent, slow-moving bodies creeped me out. But Grandma would scoop them up gently and move them to a shady corner under the hydrangeas. "They're just travelers," she said. "Let them be." I didn't get it then, but I do now. Everyone's just trying to find their shady corner. One summer evening, I remember a storm rolling in. The sky was painted with bruised purple and moody gray. The wind started sighing through the leaves, and the garden held its breath. The flowers trembled a little, like they were nervous. Grandma and I sat under the cherry tree, watching the clouds gather like gossiping ladies. Then the rain came, soft at first, then wild and thunderous. And the garden? It didn't run. It didn't hide. It danced. Every petal, every blade of grass, every single leaf, swaying, spinning, soaking in the storm like it was a gift. I watched in awe. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And Grandma, with her eyes closed and her face tilted to the sky, whispered, "Let it rain." It's just another kind of love. Years went by. I grew older. Life got busier, noisier. I moved to the city, filled my days with meetings, noise, screens, and endless scrolling. But sometimes, in the middle of a long day, I'd catch a smell, a faint hint of lavender or rosemary, and I'd be right back there, in the garden, with her. The garden changed after she passed. No one really tended it the way she did. It grew quieter, a little wilder. The roses didn't bloom as proudly. The lilies seemed lonelier. The bench under the cherry tree stood empty, covered in fallen petals like forgotten kisses. But still, the garden waited. It never gave up. It still whispered in the breeze, still sighed in the rain, still sang in the sunshine. One day, I went back. After years, the gate creaked when I opened it, like it was trying to remember who I was. The air was thick with memories, and the flowers, though fewer, still held on. I walked slowly, each step heavy and warm, and when I reached the old bench, my heart ached. But then a butterfly landed on my shoulder, just for a moment, just enough. I smiled through my tears. "Hi, Grandma," I whispered. I stayed there for hours, touching the plants, talking to them, pulling weeds like she used to. The soil was still soft. The wind still carried music. And the garden, that brave, beautiful, stubborn little garden, smiled back. Now I go back often. I bring my daughter. She loves the daisies. She calls the butterflies her sky fairies. I teach her to whisper to the violets, to treat the snails gently, to greet every flower like an old friend. And sometimes, when we're both quiet, I swear I can hear Grandma humming. This garden, it's not just dirt and plants. It's love. It's history. It's a heartbeat in the middle of a world that moves too fast. It's where petals hold memories, and the wind carries old lullabies. It's home,